everybody watching. Just wanted to share a build, and this is pertaining to scarcity and spirituality. And this is just coming from an internal realization that I've had. And I'm just going to start it off by just reading something that I wrote, and then I'm going to go into the dialogue of what the experience was. So, scarcity is the state of being limited or in short supply. And scarcity is primarily learned through conditioning. And conditioning is becoming accustomed to behaving and thinking in certain ways as to accept circumstances. So thinking is deeply tied into accepting physical circumstances. Remember that. Thinking is deeply tied into accepting physical circumstances. And scarcity is a survival mechanism. This mechanism is easily adaptable to young minds, one, because they are relying on adult figures for all of their substantial needs, and two, it's just kind of human nature. If you watch a child, you'll see how natural it is for them to try to possess anything they associate with happiness. And what happiness really is just a serotonin spike. But basic instinct doesn't teach us that. It just says, hey, this feels good. I should hold on to it. And that's kind of the natural order. When this is actually a pivotal moment for us to be taught that everything external is a stimulator rather than the actual source of energy giving us pleasure. But we persist down this path and learn how to validate our ideas of scarcity and possession. And this makes an impression on the brain. And our brain is deeply tied into the forms that we manifest throughout life, the forms that we use for friendships, relationships, and even the forms that we use for spirituality. So with that baseline awareness, we take that into account that there may be ways that we're still conditioned into ideas of scarcity and possession. And we could bring that into the forms that we take on in any paradigm, but specifically pertaining to spirituality. I'll give my example is I always have liked to help people. I've always gotten something out of that. And through psychological terminology, I developed a codependency, which is just really tied into scarcity also. I developed a codependency, and I was started off as just a desire, became a need, because at one point helping and being present for other people was my survival was based on that. You know, growing up in circumstances that were abusive and highly volatile, if I didn't exude a certain amount of observance and application to that. So I learned to be observant and present, you know, but being pulled out of that very presence by the scarcity idea. So I'm not even really fully able to manifest upon my desire because the idea that something is going to take that away. So wanting something alone, you'll see this with kids. Wanting something alone gives you the fullness to be present with that thing that you're doing. But it's the idea of scarcity that siphons a portion of your mind and your presence into, let me hold on to this for as long as I can, you know? And it's okay to have this imbalance, but that's the main thing, the main lesson that we're learning as the reincarnations of the gods who've done all these amazing things is it's not about duality anymore. It's about balance. If it was still about duality, then we would have superpowers and we'd be able to act out and reenact our judgment on things. But it's not about that. It's about multiplicity. And that's what's being taught. So we're going into all these different forms and we're experiencing these hindrances and these blockages, and it's all coming from the same space of like, hey, you're operating in a limited form. Scarcity being included in the form you've taken, which is your vehicle, your mind, creates that vehicle. It's going to burn out if the fuel is not proper. It's going to burn out if the wheels are not balanced in a certain manner. The struts, everything is built and constructed. So I know a lot of people absolve themselves of really working on their minds in place of going into spiritual practices, which spiritual practices are not a bad negative thing, but you still have to learn your mind. You have to learn how deeply conditioned you are. Everyone has some amount of scarcity and possession behavioral practices that comes up, where it's like, and we'll sometimes polarize ourselves because we're like, well, I should want this. I should, because it's the right thing, because it should be this way, because it needs to be this way. And really all you're saying is that this is the prerequisite I'm putting in order for me to feel pleasure, in order for me to feel balance. This is the prerequisite I'm putting in that place. And if that's anywhere outside of yourself, then there you have the source of the problem. It's about being. The things that you want others to be, you need to actually just be that. So I can't help anyone to exit the world of scarcity while operating from that world of scarcity. You know what I'm saying? I need to be able to travel there. So it's still, the ideas may still come up, but it's not completely being identified with those ideas. It's knowing that I'm doing this because I want to, not because I need to. And the only way to realize that people don't need you to do something is to realize that they're also a part of an unlimited being. Is to realize that they're also tied into the Creator. Is to realize that you're no higher than them. If we were higher than them, we'd have superpowers. We don't. We're walking around just the same. So, on this, this is just to raise awareness about scarcity and bringing scarcity into spirituality. And it's just good to be mindful and to learn your vehicle, which is your brain, your body, your mind, all of that. And to not absolve learning these things and replacing it with high doses of spirituality, which is good, but you have to have balance. And that's the main thing that I feel that the universe is teaching us, is that we're going to accomplish anything, it's going to be through balance this time. We already had duality, and duality is already here. That's how we know we already had duality, because it's here. It's the power source of the earth. So we don't need more of that. We need balance, and that comes from within.